Welcome to FRC Media News for Thursday, July 23rd, 2020. I'm Keith Tebow. This week, the Fall River School Department has taken the wraps off its first draft on how students will return to class this fall. The Durfee Class of 2020 gets the recognition it's due. We introduce you to the two Republicans running for Congress in the 4th District, and local teens can learn to row for free at the Watuppa Rowing Center. All this and more coming up. Fall River School Superintendent Matthew Malone this week provided the school committee with a draft plan on how he envisions schools reopening this fall in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic. Superintendent Malone said the district needs to file a reopening plan with the state that provides 3 learning scenarios: fully reopening in person, fully teaching students remotely, or a hybrid model of in-person and remote learning. He said devising the plan has been a challenge and will not be finalized until August.
You have to understand that superintendents, union presidents, and building principals, everyone has been inundated with constantly changing plans. This is the most unwieldy process in the history, modern history, the history of since I've been alive, understanding what we're going through. So this is unique, and I want to be clear with everyone that as we talk about planning, we're not talking about set in stone. What we're talking about is dynamic that can change. And I just want to, it's a very different way of thinking about things, and it's uncomfortable because all of us want to make a plan, walk away from it, and it gets done. But that's not the world we're living in right now. Safety drives everything. What's non-negotiable is that learning and teaching in Massachusetts will start again in the first week of September. That's happening. The how is what we don't know. None of us know. Now, we know what we've been asked to do. And tonight I'm going to present to you some thinking around that. But again, I can't be as concrete to say, well, this is it. Let's just all do it.
The draft plan is based on the social distancing of students at 3 feet and 6 feet lengths. Superintendent Malone said even with the closer distance of 3 feet, the layout of city schools will not allow for 100% in-person learning. That reality, combined with increased costs for busing, sanitizing, and making safety improvements in schools, means the best option for now is a hybrid learning approach.
Anything that we do will be dictated by the numbers of students who select for fully remote learning. That has to be an option. We have to allow parents that option. So no matter what we do, the total numbers of our design will be driven by how many students select remote learning. Let me explain why. 5 days of learning, what I propose right after Labor Day, is that the district reopen in a hybrid model using 6-foot distancing, where we have 4 cohorts. Cohort A is our special populations, which would be in school every day there is in-face learning. Those are substantially separate SPED kids, a large percentage of EL students, and some students identified in the bottom lowest performing 25% of students. We figure we could get that up to 4,000 students, given that perhaps there are 2,000 who sign up for remote learning. We then, cohort kids in cohort B and C, divide the remaining figures using 10,400 student enrollment, that's 2,200 students per cohort, and they would rotate, for the sake of discussion tonight, not the plan, but an A-B model of week on, week off. But we know that could be 2 days on, 1 day of remote learning, and then the other 2 days. We haven't, all those things have to be worked out. Cohort D, depending on who opts in or hops out, we would maintain this posture up through November 15th. If at that time, either A, there's a vaccine, or B, the measures continue, the metrics continue to decline, we would move towards 3-foot separation, 3-foot distancing at that time. If the numbers don't warrant it, We wouldn't. We'd stay where we are. If the numbers get worse, we'll go to full remote. We're going to be able to go whichever way we need to go depending on the safety of the students. But the goal is, across the year, is to build a plan where we'd have benchmarks and we're able to make assessments. We know that students that are in remote learning may want to come back once they see how it's working in person, or their parents make that decision. And so we know that those figures will fluctuate.
Under the draft plan, all students and staff who attend in person will be required to wear masks as much as possible. PPE will be made available to all. Breakfast will be served to students in the classroom, while lunch will be provided in school cafeterias. As preparations continue for next school year, the end of last school year took place this Tuesday with the 2020 Durfee High School graduation. The class deferred its ceremony to be able to be held in person. Class valedictorian Thomas Panchley summed up the senior class's 4-year experience.
For a class that was said to have 20/20 vision since we were freshmen, nobody could have seen how our senior year would end when we walked out of Durfee on March 16th. And while there is no denying that we won't get back the end-of-year events that we missed, we can be thankful that we live in a community that cares for us and that we go to a school where we know we are cared for. I think we all knew that before, but if we didn't think about it, we certainly know it now. Our Durfee and Fall River community came together in every way to right what they felt was wrong. We can never express how thankful we are at this time for what our school and community have had our backs during this very difficult time. A special thank you to Dr. Malone, Mr. Damaris, Mrs. Fogarty, Ms. Pereira, Mrs. T, Mrs. Guimond, and Mrs. Tweedy for everything you have done to make us feel special and heard during this time. Having this graduation all together means so much to many of us. Not having the typical end of senior year does not take away the 4 years of amazing times and memories we have built at Durfee. We fought for a new school that we knew we would never attend, but knew was needed. We had a great pep rally all 4 years and will go down in history as having one of the best skits of all time. And who can forget the intensity of AP Jobs? Some of us had fun participating and watching athletic events, while others enjoyed acting in plays and performing in concerts. There were countless fun times in the school, and related to the relationships we have made in this school, nobody can ever take those away. In closing, the greatest generations of this country have dealt with adversity. When I think of great-grandparents that grew up in the Depression and fought in World War II and our Vietnam veterans, they changed our community, our country in immeasurable ways. We were born in the shadow of September 11th and graduate high school during a global pandemic. While these times do not compare to war, they are not the best of times either. It is time to push through and become one of the greatest generations. As we leave here today, let's leave knowing that we will do great things. The Durfee Class of 2020 will do great things. Thank you and good luck.
Fall River saw a dip in its unemployment rate for the month of June. The State Office of Labor and Workforce Development reports the city's jobless rate sits at 22.7%, down from 23% in May. Last May, the city's unemployment rate was 5%. Statewide, the jobless rate sits at 17.4%. The City of Fall River is looking for citizen input on how it can serve residents better. Mayor Paul Coogan says an online survey promoted on Facebook is geared to get a sample of residents on where and how the city can improve.
We're up almost 800 responses. We're going to release the survey when we're done. And the thoughtfulness that went into the questions when we asked them to fill in others was really, really heartwarming. People took time and filled in those blocks and put down their opinion. As everyone would imagine, we picked up 10 issues that we think, affect everybody's quality of life in the city, and they're being diligent and they're answering them. And by the time we do the show next week, we'll have the results out to the public because, it's only a random Facebook poll, but I do believe it's a good cross section of the population, and people are being diligent and doing a good job of it.
Thousands of people across the Commonwealth have been tested for COVID-19. Our Denise Pumaguaye shares her experience as she stopped by one of the free testing sites that have recently opened within the city of Fall River.
I will get my free test done today, and we'll see how this goes. This is the third coronavirus test that I am getting done because I was in New York City for almost a month taking care of a family emergency. Once I came back to Massachusetts, now because of our line of work, I just want to take extra precaution measures. I'm wearing my mask because I had to stop previously. One of the officers who is helping the nurses here at the checkpoint came over. Wear your mask in public, especially when you're interacting with others. So this is a drive-through or walk-up testing, but you do have to make an appointment. There are other several sites here in Fall River where you do not need to make an appointment.
No problem.
Thank
Okay,
you so much.
so is your name Denise?
Yes, Denise Kumawaye.
Okay. Okay, so here's a little bit of information about COVID for you, reducing the risk, stuff like that. So it is advised for you to stay home while we're waiting for results. So it's going to be a nasal swab. Have you had one before?
Yes, this is
You
my
have.
third one.
Your third one, okay. All right, so it's going to go up there. It's going to be pretty uncomfortable. 2 or 3 seconds, we'll get a good swab, and then we'll be done, okay?
Okay.
Results are taking about a week. A little bit longer sometimes because they're kind of backlogged right now, but we will be calling with positive or negative results. Okay, we can take our mask down. All right, can lean our head back. Perfect. All right. All right, 3, 2, 1, and done. All right. Ooh, I know.
Thank you so
All
much,
right,
Julie.
hope you feel better. Take care.
You too. There you have it. Nurse Julie helped me with the swab. I have gone to the other testing places where I had to do it myself. So I'm pretty sure that she got a really good specimen of it.
We'll have more FRC Media news after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Adoption Supervisor, Child and Family Services, located at 66 Troy Street, is looking for a full-time adoption supervisor, responsible for providing professional and administrative leadership to the staff in the adoption program. Job number 137-87293. Legal Assistant Secretary, Leader Fogarty and Ribeiro, located at 101 Jeremiah Sullivan Drive, is looking for a full-time legal assistant secretary who is bilingual in Portuguese and Spanish, focusing on domestic relations and immigration law. Job number 137-84783. Telemedicine Critical Care Doctor, Remote Medicine Incorporated is seeking a full-time telemedicine critical care doctor from the Fall River area to provide telemedicine support in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Job number 137-85354. Blount Fine Foods, located at 630 Current Road, is in need of the following full and part-time positions in the Fall River area. Machine Operator, job number 137-85206. Quality Assurance Tech, job number 137-85272. The Fall River Public School Department, located at 417 Rock Street, also is in need of the following full and part-time positions. Vice Principal, Cuss Middle School, job number 137-87136. Second grade elementary school teacher, job number 137-83127. For more information on these or other positions, visit Mass Hire JobQuest at jobquest.dcs.eol.mass.gov or call the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. We wrap up our look now at the candidates running for the Massachusetts 4th Congressional District, seeking to replace Joseph Kennedy. This week we speak with the two Republicans in the race, Julie Hall and David Rosa. Julie Hall is a former Air Force colonel and has political experience as a former Attleboro City Councilor. Along with medical experience in the Air Force, Ms. Hall served over 20 years as a hospital administrator. She's seeking the restoration of America's guiding principles as the Republican nominee. She is also slightly critical of how the federal government has handled the COVID-19 pandemic.
Being a hospital administrator and being in the military, at the rank that I was at, I had, privy to what they call medical intelligence. So I knew some of the things that were going on. We we would plan for these kinds of things in Washington, D.C. So this was way before any of the presidents that were currently here. And so one of the agencies we relied on heavily was the Public Health Service. I was a little disappointed to see that the Public Health Service did not take a much larger role right from the beginning. They are very, very good at being able to build out these hospitals. That in conjunction with, and I kept on saying, bring out the National Guard, and not from a military standpoint, but I know that the medics in the military and the Guard are very well trained to do this, to deploy. So I kept kind of sitting there and saying, geez, when are they gonna do this? And I think it just took a little bit. I don't know what happened to the system. There was a very well-oiled system where people would start reporting when they saw changes and they saw certain things and certain diagnoses, and these things were supposed to be feeding up to a higher level, which in my opinion would have said something's going on.
Ms. Hall believes the nation's tax policy should protect small business owners and reward entrepreneurs. She also supports vocational education and feels public safety personnel should be respected.
I'm an advocate of law and order. I'll say that right off the bat. Anybody that puts on a uniform and puts their life on the line, I have a great respect for what they do. Now, that being said, I've also been in that organization where people in my own organization has not quite lived up to those ethics and responsibilities that have been put in their trust. So, there's bad apples. We need to figure out who those people are. I think that needs to happen. However, you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. One of the things we don't want is chaos. I have spoken to a lot of our police officers. My opinion is we need the social workers and the caseworkers, and I know this has come up, but they need to work in tandem, not independently. The reason why I say this is I'll jump back to my mental health background. I have seen how dangerous it is for someone to go to a domestic. One of those spouses is usually armed, or there's a problem going on. The last thing you want is a social worker or caseworker to be the first person to open that door.
David Rosa resides in Dighton and has ties to Fall River. In seeking the Republican nomination, he's a staunch supporter of President Trump and criticizes the Marxism he sees within the Democratic Party. Mr. Rosa feels state governments should not have interfered with the growing economy in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic.
It has been politicized. It's not. It is a very real concern. It's perhaps overplayed, but that's not a reason for us to not take reasonable precautions. We should take precautions that we feel relate to our personal place in life. If we have seniors in our lives, or we have underlying health conditions and we feel it's appropriate for us to wear a mask, then please do. Take precautions appropriate for your circumstances. Now, having said that, that's very different than shutting down the economy. Yes, we should encourage everybody to take precautions, but shutting down the economy, let me try and frame it this way. The people who argue, frequently I've noticed, who argue for shutting things down are people who are getting a government check, and that government check keeps coming no matter what happens. They are not going to lose. They're not going to be behind in their mortgage, possibly lose their home. They're not going to be behind in their rent, probably have a rent issue with their landlord. They're not going to lose their job, which is so important to something they've worked on and cherish and look forward to going to. So all of these things, we need a balanced approach. And I really think that a lot more emphasis could be put on volunteerism. We can ask people to voluntarily take precautions, think about their neighbors, think about the people that are at risk. And I think we could put a lot more emphasis on that. And I think Americans respond to the request for help from their neighbors.
Mr. Rosa is concerned about disenfranchising voters by expanding voting by mail and feels market forces should dictate the creation of jobs and the expansion of health care.
I'm sure there's an answer, and I'm sure we're going to find it. But that answer should not come from political philosophy, Marxist regime, or socialist regime. that answer is probably best emerging from free market enterprise. And I think we'll find a way through this. I think we'll find a way to cover all, maybe not all, but most of our citizens. And, I think we'll get there. But it's going to take time. I mean, after all, even the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi said, we have to pass it to see what's in it. How irresponsible is that? How irresponsible is that? And that's not what we need. We need the experts to step in. We need careful calculation. We need to measure this very carefully, and we will find our way through it as we have so many other challenges.
There are 11 candidates running in the Massachusetts 4th Congressional District, 9 Democrats and 2 Republicans. You can see our complete interview with each candidate on our website. They will also be running on Channel 95 right up until the state primary on September 1st. For the 3rd straight summer, the Watuppa Rowing Center is hosting a summer camp teaching teens how to row on the South Watuppa Pond. The camp assembles weekly through August and is geared to teens ages 13 to 18.
All the kids can sign up for 1 week or for all the weeks, and they're completely free. They call United We Row because it's for everybody. So, and we want technically for the community of Fort River and everybody around Fort River and who likes to learn and be part of the sport of rowing. They learn a little bit about everything. They learn about taking care, technically the environment. They learn a lot about rowing. The both forms of rowing, sweeping, that's when you row with 1 oar, 2 oars, sculling, so you're with 2 oars in a small boat. They get the best of both worlds, right? They learn about teamwork and communication and how to work with each other when they're in sweep boats, and they learn about being aware of themselves and achieve goals when they're in small boats, especially when it gets challenged. When you're in a small boat, you can't depend on anybody else but yourself, and it's very satisfying. It's something about rowing and hearing the sound of the water and the boat that is very peaceful, and it just gets you out of your regular times and days. Instead of being indoors playing video games, you're outside and enjoying this beautiful pond that we have.
The goal and our premise is that we want this sport to be available to everyone, and we want to get children and young adults into it. Over 50% of girl high school seniors who go to college get a scholarship or recruitment for rowing programs. So if you're a young woman in high school and you can gain rowing experience, it's a leg up. It's no guarantee, obviously, but it's an advantage to have that on your resume. And we want the kids in Fall River to have every chance to take advantage of that.
We'll have more right after this.
Thank you for considering a homeless pet today. I hope you enjoy what you're about to see, and as always, please feel free to contact the shelter before coming down to make sure that the pets you're viewing are still available for adoption. We can be reached at 508-677-9154.
Welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today we have Star. Star is a little black cat. She's about 1 year old. She was a stray, so we don't know too much about her background. She seems to want attention. She's just not ready for it when you actually try to give it to her. She really wants it, but she needs some time to come around. So someone who has the patience and likes to work with scared animals and let them take their time to come around, that person might be the best owner for Star, as they'll know that sometimes the scared ones who finally come around after a lot of work can be the best friends you'll ever have. So if you're interested in Star, go onto our website, foreverpaws.com, fill out an application, and then come on down to 300 Linwood Street and check her out. Today we have Snoopy. Snoopy is a Lhasa Apso. He's just under 2 years old, around 1 year, 11 months. Snoopy was a surrender. He can be a little iffy sometimes with strangers. He needs time to warm up to people and get to know them and really trust them. Until he does, he can, as you can see, bark. He will trade if you have some good treats. He's smart. Snoopy does seem to like other dogs. Probably someone who is experienced with Lhasa Apsos would be the best fit for Snoopy. So if you think your home might be a good fit for Snoopy, fill out an application and then come on down to 300 Linwood Street and say hi.
Finally, the City of Fall River is sponsoring a number of events this weekend to get more residents to take part in the 2020 U.S. Census. The city was given a grant from the Massachusetts Secretary of State's office to promote participation locally. A group of students has been canvassing the city, sharing information on the importance of the census, and allowing people to take part on the spot. Kyle Neves says this weekend the city is organizing a series of events to gather people together for a purpose, while also encouraging more people to complete the census.
On Friday night, we'll be having a tabling event down at Bicentennial Park, and we actually have a Dell's Lemonade truck that'll be there from, I think it's 5 to 7. And we'll be there for 4 hours, just tabling, trying to encourage people that while they're on their walk to stop by, complete the census. And then that brings us into Saturday, the 25th, where we're going to have a super busy day. We're going to start it off with a citywide cleanup from 9 to 11. And we're going to try and hit communities that really need to be cleaned up. And after that, we'll have another tabling event. We'll be at Lafayette Park, right near the pool, and we'll have another Dell's truck there for people who are getting out of the pool. And then Saturday night is really our biggest event. We'll be having a drive-in movie at Durfee's West Main. And we're going to be playing Toy Story 4, which I hope is going to be something that can really bring a lot of people to come in. It's a drive-in movie. People can park their cars and sit in the parking lot and just have a good time. It's something that people in Fall River can enjoy in this time, especially with the pandemic going on. And then Sunday, we conclude Census Weekend with another tabling event. We'll be back at Lafayette. We'll have another Dell's truck, and we're just going to try and have some fun with everybody around the community.
Neves also says the participation rate in Fall River has been below expectations, but the numbers have improved.
With the interactive census map that we're able to access, we can actually see response rates across Fall River. And that's been like a tool that's been super handy for us, where we can see like over the course of time how many more people are completing the census. So when we first formed our task force, we were sitting just over 50%. And as of this morning, we got it up to 52.8, which it's a good improvement to have in the short period of time. But like you had said, we're still behind other cities in Massachusetts that are typically reporting at like above 60%. So we're really trying to target specific census tracts that are the lowest reporting, and do tabling events, canvas, and just like put flyers on doors so that, I mean, we're limited, but we still have some options here, and we're really trying to heavily target the lowest responding tracts across Fall River and try and get those numbers up so that we can get Fall River to pass 60%, but not only pass 60%, we want to get as high as possible.
That's all for this edition of FRC Media News. We invite you to join us at our website, frmedia.org, for all the latest information and all that's airing on Channel 95. This program airs Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Thursday.